Hey guys, this is DATOHLEONG, and in this video, you will see 10 things that you might be doing wrong or you should be doing with Morphling in Dota 2. The content in this video is entirely based on my experiences watching, playing, and experimenting on the hero. Of course, every game will put you in different situations and it is not going to be easy to execute these theories accordingly, but practice makes perfect. Enjoy! You can gain strength by manipulating your max HP to gain free health out of thin air in the early game. Go agility threads, then switch to strength. Then strength threads and switch to agility. Then agility threads and switch to strength again. Then strength threads and go agility. As you can see, I gain health from absolutely nothing. But now that you need mana to shift attribute, you should do this instead. Intelligence threads, switch to strength. Strength threads, switch to agility. Then again, intelligence threads, switch to strength. And strength threads, switch to agility. This way, you will save mana from attribute shifting. You do not need to switch all the way to gain health, you just need to be constantly switching, and you can do this while last hitting creeps in lane. So the next time you wanna rush a Morbid Mask, try rushing a Threads instead. Now that Adaptive Strike got buffed, most Morphling players will go for the spell at level 2, but that is not always the better skill at level 2. When you skill Adaptive Strike, you are going to play the poke and try to out-CS your opponent lane. But when you go for Waveform at level 2, you are looking for aggressive traits and try to beat your opponents out of the lane. Skilling either spell at level 2 should be based on the hero matchup. It is important to ask yourself if you can get to the face of your enemy and beat them out. If the answer is no, there will be more value in the Adaptive Strike skill point. Agility strikes are usually used as a spam on your opponents to chip their health and secure creeps that you are not able to with normal hits. Strength strike, however, is frequently underused during the laning phase. For 50 mana, you can use it to secure denies in lane. Just strike and deny. Since Morphling has high damage and attack speed, you can do this to guarantee denies. Hit, strike, hit. If your opponent isn't using any spell to secure that CS, there is almost no way they can stop these denies from happening. So if you use them both, it should look something like this. Morphling isn't a type of hero that rotates very well when you put him on the middle lane. There is no stuns, no initiation, and no huge damage burst. The only two conditions that enables Morphling to make side lane rotations are runes and TP. Either you find a rune that enables you to kill the side lanes, or wait for something to happen on the side lane, then TP in. With that said, the early game is very important to Morphling and you shouldn't be pressured to rotate if there is no heroes out of position. What Morphling is good at isn't ganking, but pressuring towers with the high attack damage and fast attack speed. Most of the time, you're better off flash farming and pressuring the tower on your lane and make heroes come to you instead of making the rotations. Because you have attribute shift, it is not easy to kill you in the early game. Making heroes come to you can create the necessary space on the map, and if they don't come to you, you either get very fat or take down their towers. I've played with and coached Morphling players, and one of the most common mistakes is not being patient with the waveform. It is very common to be aggressive with the waveform to abuse Morphling's high damage and flash farming speed. But showing the enemy that your waveform is on cooldown isn't always the best idea. Even though you have attribute shift, you can run out of strength to shift during the 11 seconds downtime if your enemy has enough heroes and spells targeting you during that time. Here you see that I waveform towards the rune. The enemy noticed that the waveform is on cooldown and smoked towards me and tried to hijack my way back to lane. Even though I have attribute shift, it is just not enough to survive the spells. During the mid game where your opponents start to hit their power spike and come online, you don't want to waveform into the enemy unless it is safe to do so. If you do not have anything to cover the downtime of the waveform, there is a high chance that you get chain locked and die. Generally, you want to be patient with the waveform and use it only if you are not in danger of dying. Most of the time, using it to secure a kill in exchange for your life is not worth it at all. It is always satisfying to agility adaptive strike a target to see how much damage you are capable of doing, but casting it will put your strength strike on 3 seconds cooldown, and during that 3 seconds it is enough for the enemy to get away. Instead of using agility strike first, strength strike can sometimes bring you more kill potential by cancelling channels or cast animation against mobility heroes.
Stop lane here.
This is a question I get a lot. When do you buy Eblade? Sometimes you buy it, it turns out to be a mistake and costs you the game. Sometimes you don't buy it and it feels like you're not doing enough. To answer this question, if you're planning on getting it on the first core item, how fast can you get it? If you can get it between 12 and 15 minutes, even if the item is not that great, you will go around the map threatening to one-shot anyone you see because they are not prepared for it. And if the heroes continue to avoid you, you're going to take down all the towers and secure a lead. If you're planning to get it in the later part of the item build, the question you should be asking is, how important is burst damage? Most of the time, if you cannot burst down heroes instantly during the mid to late game, the game generally gets very hard for Morphling. If the team has a lot of burst damage and your goal is just to survive, then there's not much value in a late Eblade. For example, in this game, you can argue that Storm can dodge Eblade, Willow can dodge Eblade, Centaur should be able to tank it, but from another perspective, all of these heroes die to fast burst damage as long as it connects with a split second of stun.
He's dead. G next.
Nice. 漂亮漂亮。
Even though most supports are one-shot target for Eblade Morphling, you can't one-shot every hero you see all the time, and starting fights with Eblade generally aren't the best idea unless it is a guaranteed kill. If the combo doesn't kill, most of the time, the target will get out alive. Speaking from experience here, the shotgun combo should be seen as something like an X-Culling Blade, but instead of 300 damage threshold, it is a 1000 damage threshold. Any hero with 1000 health is instantly dead, so you want to hold on to the combo until the target reach that 1000 health mark and not use it to initiate. When you copy a hero, turn back into Morphling, then you want to switch in between heroes. There will be a 1 second cooldown. During that 1 second, you are a vulnerable puddle of water because you have no access to attribute shift. So if you're looking to steal a spell, you don't want to copy, switch back into Morph, waveform in, and switch to another hero. You either do it from a distance, cast your spell, then turn back into Morphling and go in. Or go in with the waveform to copy. That is because during the first copy, there is no cooldown. So if you are initiating by copying a stun, you can turn back into Morphling instantly and gain access to attribute shift. Morphling can be a monster in the mid to late game, but as strong as you are, you want to avoid going all in during the start of team fights. Morphling have low cooldown spells, and when there is a certain weakness in the enemy's positioning, or when they have spells on cooldown, this lubricant can chase and take down heroes very quickly. If you were to go all in from the start, or be the first one in general, you might be forced to do a full strength shift, and you will need time to reset your stats. During team fights, it is more favorable for you to poke around and not commit, then instantly take down the entire enemy lineup when you spot a weakness. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk on Morphling. Shout out to my boys for their support. If you enjoyed my content, do hit the like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next